Sorsby.
Here comes the Knickerbocker. Here comes the Knickerbocker. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes the Knickerbocker. Yours truly, the Real Lil, on the show. Welcome aboard for another episode of the Real Lil Show. It's going down, just so you know. Say it ain't so, because it is so. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you support new media, because that's where we're headed, right? That's what's taking over. New content, original content. Make sure you support. And man, when I tell you got a stack show, we do. All right. My New York Knickerbockers obviously won the championship, and we did a show giving our overall takeaways on the finals. But today was the parade. Okay. And you know what? I thought it went well. Obviously, New Yorkers is always going to be an idiot that's not going to act right and do what they're supposed to do and enjoy the moment. You got a couple knuckleheads. You know, honestly, guys, we are living in a fallen state right now. Society's crashing. What do you expect? But in the midst of society crashing, we do have sports to kind of galvanize, or should galvanize, the people together and keep us, looking forward to something, something to look forward to. And that's what this is all about. I know for me, being a Knicks fan, it's been 53 years since we last won a championship. I wasn't even born. So I don't know what success feels like as a New York Knickerbocker until today, right? Because today is actually when it hit me that we won a championship. It didn't hit me when we was when the clock went down to zero and we were celebrating. It hit me today though. Now I'm starting to feel it, and now I'm starting to be on cloud 10. Okay, I am hype, and I told my guy Lee, who's back on the show with us today. Salute to my guy Lee. I'm about to introduce him. I told him I didn't get to go to the parade today at the work, but next year I will be at that parade next year, celebrating my New York Knickerbockers. And Lee, I'm glad to have you on. How you feeling, man?
I feel good, man. Rainy night in Birmingham, Alabama, but hey, I'm making it. Look, 2 million people at the parade. A couple of knuckleheads, but nothing too outrageous. So
nobody got blown up, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna give the New York fans a thumbs up because it wasn't, outlandish, over the top. I actually thought it was a great parade. They brought back some of the old school. Ewing was there, Walt Clyde, a lot of the older guys that played for the Knicks, and so it was classy in that regard. So really, really want to tip my hat to New York and say job well done on the parade. 2 million people is a lot of people. It's a lot of people for a parade, and like you said, it's a couple of knuckleheads, but that's to be expected. But got a great show, got some great topics, so I'm looking forward to it, bro.
Yeah, man, like you said, it's rainy in Birmingham, but it's orange and blue skies over here in New York City, and I am stoked. And it's no joke. It's time for the Real Lil Show, and we are going to begin. Before we get to the Knicks, we're going to backtrack a little bit because there's a topic that's been burning over the last week or so. And with the finals, I've been caught up with that. But, I realize that this is a significant topic that needs to be talked about. And it's Brendan Sorsby and the gambling scandal that's going on and taking college football by storm. And Lee, I want to get your thoughts on that situation. Obviously, he applies for the supplemental draft. And Lee, I got to be honest with you. This is the moment of truth. All right. I've been watching football for 20 years. I've never heard of the supplementary draft ever until this conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm out of the loop. Maybe I'm out of touch. But I just got to be honest with you. I've never heard of that supplementary draft until this Brendan Sorsby situation. Say what you will about that. But I want to talk about that. How should the NFL, first of all, your thoughts on the situation, and then we can get into it later. How should the NFL handle Brendan Sorsby? Lee, the mic is yours.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, and I'll just recap it real quick. Sorsby was quarterback at Cincinnati. He transferred to Texas Tech this year, and there was an investigation, an NCAA investigation that revealed that this guy had made 9,000 bets. 9,000 bets on college football, including college and pro, but including betting on his own team. Now, totaling about $90,000. So he's bet on all sports, but including this team, which is, if anybody talks about the integrity of the game, when you say a player bet on his own team, hey, that's immediate kick out, suspend, not allowed to play. That's what it is. He transferred to Texas Tech. The NCAA ruled him ineligible. He filed a lawsuit. He got an injunction saying that he got a temporary injunction, but the caveat of it is, Leel, the trial wouldn't be till February. So February 2027. So he would have been allowed to play on that temporary injunction this year for Texas Tech. And he stated in the lawsuit it would hurt, his brand and his ability to make money. Fast forward it, Texas Tech got a lot of pushback from everybody. Their own league, the Big 12, said they were going to sue them, and they got a temporary injunction to be able to enforce their rules on penalties they wanted to enforce on Texas Tech. Fast forward it one more time. Texas Tech finally came to their senses, right? And told them, hey, that's too much heat. He applies to the supplemental draft. Now, Lil, I'm older than you, so I do know about the supplemental draft. And what they do is the NFL, if they see a talented player that's a draftable player, if he's ruled ineligible after the draft is over, they can have a supplemental draft. Terrell Pryor, the quarterback that used to play for Ohio State, was in a supplemental draft. And there's been some other players that have been in a supplemental draft. It's not very common, and they don't have it every year either, Leo. So they have it in special occasions, and this guy has applied for the NFL to be in a supplemental draft. They haven't approved it yet. But that's sort of the backdrop. And for those that didn't know, I thought it was important that we paint that picture. Now, first of all, you gambled on your own team. You gambled on sports on your own team. How can anyone now take this man seriously? You don't know if he could be bought. You don't know and we really don't know if he shaved points doing betting on his own team. We just know he placed the bets, and it's been proven that he placed it on his own team. So where does it stop? Can the mob get to him and say, okay, I just want you to cover the point spread? You don't have to lose the game, but maybe throw an interception in the fourth quarter when you're up by 6 and the spread, is 7. Whatever the case may be, this guy should not be allowed to play. Now, let me give you a little history on the supplemental draft in the NFL, Lil, then I'll throw it back to you. When Terrell Pryor was in the supplemental draft, and he had, at Ohio State, he had signed some uniforms, game jerseys, and he sold them, Lil, and he got paid for them, right? And the school ruled him ineligible, and they suspended him, and the NFL upheld the suspension when he came into the NFL. He wasn't even in the NFL, and the NFL suspended him. Let's see what the NFL will do to Brendan Sorsby. Now, if you ask me what should they do, he should not be allowed to play if I'm making that decision. Now, what do I think they're going to do? They're going to allow him to play. Now, last thing I'll say about the supplemental draft, how it works for those that don't know, right? So any team they'll put him in the draft, and it goes like the regular draft order, right? And you have to put whatever round grade you have to submit. It's like a blind auction. You put the grade on them, and the team that puts the highest grade wins. So who was the first pick? Oakland. If Oakland wanted Sorsby, and they wanted to put a first round grade, they could do it, and so on and so forth. And it goes all the way through the 7th round. And if nobody puts a grade on him, he's a free agent. But let's say the Jets wanted to put a 4th round grade on him. As long as nobody bids higher, like a 3rd, then the Jets would win him, and they give up their 4th rounder in 27. That's the backdrop. I just feel he shouldn't play, but I do think that the NFL is going to allow him to play. The key for me is, in that particular instance, will they suspend him or put him on the commissioner's exempt list for a while? That's what I'm looking forward to, because I think they're going to let him play. And it's a travesty that they do that considering that he broke the sacred rule of betting on his own team.
Big massive scandal here. Uh Look, you made some good points, right? You don't know how involved in the underworld he is when it comes to gambling. We don't know if he's in bed with the mob, right? Because the mob definitely is still involved in sports now. Before they were definitely it was infested with mob, right? With the mob, sports in general, boxing in particular. Even other sports as well. Michael Jordan got involved with the mob and whatnot, but now they work behind the scenes a little bit, and are they still there? And who knows how in depth he is in that? Do you want to take that risk and whatnot? Now, this is, and I want to bring this up because this is very important when I'm about to say this line. This is the largest gambling scandal of the NIL era. Okay? Let that marinate.
Yep.
Because right now, college sports is a mess. Obviously, the NIL, everything with that, the SEC talking about breaking away as a conference. Right now, we are looking at a league that is ununiform, that's unorganized, that doesn't know what it reality or what its identity rather is. And this right here is just going to make an issue, an even bigger issue, and now we got problems. Look, Texas Tech went from being a babyface underdog story. There was a lot of projections on what they can do this year in the Big 12, potentially win the Big 12. Some people are still predicting them to do so even without Brendan, right? And obviously a college football playoff player here. They could have been a team that had that babyface underdog story, which is now a heel villain story because of this situation. Think about it. They could have been like Indiana, right? Because Indiana benefited from the NIL era. They had a history of losing, and they didn't have a history of winning at the highest level. But guess what? Because of the NIL, they were able to invest. They was able to be aggressive. And guess what? Because of that, in years past, in a previous college football, where you would have no shot to have the top recruits, where you have no shot to perform at the highest stage, at the highest level, they was able to take advantage of the NIL era and be able to win a championship and become a house of power name. Texas Tech was on that path to me, and now they just went from the team that the media likes, praises for what they was able to do out of nothing, to now becoming the villain because of their support of their quarterback, who was out here betting on not only college football, but the team as well, which is the cardinal sin that you don't break. These are the 10 commandments in football, in basketball, in sports in general.
In any sport, yeah.
In any sport. You don't bet on your teams or in the games that you play. That's the cardinal sin, and he broke it. Now, my problem, Lee, is that you have players who, I guess they disagree with the direction of where the punishment is going. And guess what? They go to these judges, right, to get an injunction and whatnot, so they can get a sympathetic judge that's going to go against the NCAA and overrule them. Now that's the thing now. I don't like what the NCAA did or the punishment. So rather than me take accountability for my stupidity, I'm going to run to a sympathetic judge who probably is paid off, who knows, and try to get some sympathy and make him feel sorry for me and overrule the NCAA. So again, right now we are looking at a sport, at a league in general, that is ununiform, that's disorganized. And again, when you come back to the term of gambling, it's impacting sports, and we have to know that it will. There are players right now who are gambling. We just don't know about it yet.
Yeah, very true.
They're there. They're there. And the FBI is wiretapping their phones as we speak.
Yep.
Okay, De'Aaron Fox needs to be investigated right now. He's probably one of the people that was point shaving. Okay, out here breaking shot after shot. It's happening, folks. Okay, my guy Michael Francis, one of the old time mob bosses, he said it on Vlad TV and all these other platforms that they are players right now point shaving.
It's very easy. It's very easy, Leel.
And it's access. That's the thing about it. The access has changed. Before you had to go to an actual bookie and place a bet physically. Now you got the mobile apps. Now it's highly accessible.
Yeah. It's very easy. It's very easy. And when you look at these games, We're not, these mob bosses, they're not asking the player to throw the entire game. They're asking them to do this for the prop bets, to cover the spread. So it's a lot with the, like you said, with those apps and things. Now you can just win money off of these prop bets, right? Yep. And so it's like, it's so easy. Think about this. 4 players from Alabama State, they were indicted for potentially point shaving and throwing games at Alabama State. And this was a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about how outrageous that was for them. They're being prosecuted. Well, what's any different than what Sorsby? Now, it hadn't been proven that Sorsby threw any games, but Leel, when you are in debt for 90 grand, right? And we don't know how much more money he was committed to. Anybody can
9,000 bets.
9,000 bets.
Listen, he's not a gambler. He is gambling, bro.
Right. He's an addict. He's an addict.
You know what I mean?
And we know if you're an addict of anything, Leel, you can be swayed just like that. It's an addiction, we know, but you're an addict. And let me say this. Look, any type of disease, I'm sympathetic to, right? But, and I hope he gets the help that he needs. But that doesn't mean that we need to allow him to play football. You can give a person a second chance without saying you need to be on the football field. Give him a second chance in life, but not necessarily in the NFL, because what it looks like to me is he's getting rewarded for all the turmoil he caused at Texas Tech and the black eye, because it is a black eye on college football.
Yep.
For them to be going back, all you have to do is find a judge that maybe graduated from Texas Tech or have a kid at Texas Tech. They do it. Then, the Big 12 had to go find their own judge, too, to say they can adjudicate their own rules. That's why it ended up that he went to the supplemental draft, because that extra injunction was going to give them the ability to levy their sanctions. You see how messy this is? And it's not, and then everybody wants to put it back on the players. No, it's the administrators and the coaches that are messing up college sports. And guys like Sorsby, who throws all the rules out the window and do any damn thing they think they want to do.
And this guy, he had reset the NIL market when he signed with Texas Tech in the transfer portal, $5 million.
$5 million. Yeah, he was going to make good money. He was going to make big time money.
And this is what he decides to do. Obviously, reminds me of the situation with the NBA, with that raid, with Terry Rozier and company. I mean, this is the reality. When you also got to blame how the leagues push it in front of people.
Yeah.
Right, is advertised.
Yeah.
Even when you're watching the game, you see it. Sports bookies or whatever, sports books and whatnot is there. So you can't bake your cake and eat it too. You can't force betting to the masses to promote betting and whatnot to promote your sport and not think that you have law-abiding citizens in your sport. You don't. Newsflash. You have some criminals that came, I won't say criminals, but you have some people that came from a situation where they weren't saints. Now all these people went to Catholic school. Some people are from the hood. Some people, is into the street. But football and basketball is what got them out of it. But they still have the influence. They still have the environment. Hey, you can have a friend that's like, let's bet. How much should I bet? And now you into it.
Yeah.
You think these guys don't have friends that's out here betting? And I'm not sitting here to say, let's throw a pity party for Sorsby. He's an idiot. 9,000 bets. Again, he's not a gambler. He's Mr. Gambling. Okay? Gambling is gambling on him at this point. It's that bad. But look, to answer the question, what should the NFL do? I do think you make some valid points, and I do think they should ban him from the league. I'm not opposed to a suspension. I think that's the likelihood of what's going to happen here. And I could be fine with that. Some people say I come on hard on people. It is what it is. But one thing I don't have a tolerance for is BS. And this right here is BS. So fortunately for Sorsby, I do believe that the NFL is a forgiving league. right? Even if you beat up your girlfriend, they forgive you. Just don't come out and talk about the LGBTQ. Just don't come out and talk about the vaccine. Then you're good, buddy. You will be playing football. You may not be starting, but you'll be playing football. But go ahead and talk about the LGBTQ. It's a wrap.
Or
Your career is over.
or protest
You're gonna
social
get Jaden
justice.
Ivied.
Or protest
Okay?
social justice, right? So,
Exactly.
But
You
let me
know,
say this.
do all that. Talk about the government and the vaccine, and guess what? Oh, even better. Talk about a particular people that I'm not gonna say. We know they start with a J. Just leave it like that, and it's not Jaleel. All right, talk about them. Say something about them. Criticize them. Guess what? You're done.
Yeah.
But betting, sports betting, nah, you're good. Just don't do it in the NFL though, because they will give you the hammer. All right, they'll let you in. But you saw what they did to Calvin Ridley. A whole year suspension. Took a big chunk of that brother's career. And he was at the highest point of his career at that point. He never been the same since. He's okay, but he's definitely not the Calvin Ridley that I knew before.
He only placed like 4 or 5 bets. He only placed 4 or 5 bets.
Yeah. And this right here is 9,000.
Yeah, they said he did it from the facility, but 4 or 5 bets. The other thing I wanted to say before we move on is, Leo, how could any player that plays with Sorsby, if he's in the game and he has a bad game, the thought's going to come up into your brain. Yeah. Is this guy on the up and up? Is he throwing the game?
Yeah.
You've seen the movie The Longest Yard?
Mm-hmm.
With it was really originally with Burt Reynolds, but then Adam Sandler redid it. And when they called him Superstar, that he was throwing the game again because that's why he went to prison. This is the same thing. How could your players trust you? And how could fans trust you when you have a bad game and they say, how could he make that throw? You have to come down hard on this guy.
You can't make an excuse like Sam Darnold and say you seeing ghosts. That ain't gonna fly, buddy. You ain't seeing ghosts. You seeing bookies. That's what you seeing.
You have to come down hard on him, and I think they're going to let him in the league. Me knowing and having watched football for 40 years, they're going to let him in, but at least come down hard on him, hard to make him go through several hoops before he can play. If you just allow him to go in the supplemental draft's not going to be to July, so he's not going to affect anybody's team this year. But if you don't penalize him, look at what that says about the NFL. So that'll be my last.
Are you surprised? I don't think you are or should be, but hey, this is your opinion. Are you surprised the way how Texas Tech fully backed Sorsby onto the last second?
No, because Texas Tech is now being ran by that billionaire alumnus who is pumping all that money in to all of Texas Tech sports. You look at Texas Tech football, basketball, the women's basketball. He's pumping a lot of money into that program. And that's the other drawback of NIL. Well, not necessarily NIL, but the collectives that form for college sports. He's putting tens of millions of dollars into that program. And you hit it on the head. What really was a Cinderella darling story, now they're the most hated team in college sports.
Just like that.
All of their sports.
And Sorsby gets to cut bait and jump ship.
Yeah.
He gets to cut bait, jump ship, go to the supplementary draft, and leave a burning ship, basically.
Yeah, because
leave all the PR and all of that to Texas Tech.
Well, they forced him to do that. Because because the water was boiling hot, they forced him to do that. But it doesn't even matter now because every team and every coach and every GM and everybody hates Texas Tech now. They are a marked team, and they're going to be the villains for this year and years to come.
I agree. Thanks to Sorsby, who was gambling from rambling, literally. And Lee, before we move on from this topic, obviously we both don't believe he should be in the NFL, but assuming that the NFL is what we know it to be, which is a forgiving league for people who don't come against the LGBTQ and the vaccinations and the J word people, right? Assuming that he's going to be forgave, and he is drafted, which teams or team you think should at least consider it, despite all the things that come with it.
Well, look, I don't think any should, but I'll give you a couple of teams that need a quarterback. The Jets, the Steelers, they need quarterback play. The coach potentially need quarterback play. I mean, he has the measurables, 6'2", 6'3". He can throw the football now.
Yeah.
The one thing he can do, he has that quick gunslinger mentality, quick release. He's a talented kid. I don't think he's as talented as some of these people are trying to make him out to be. They kind of want to pump him up a little bit. But he's a quarterback that would have gotten drafted in this past draft. I could say that. I don't think he's a first-round talent, as people are trying to make him. But, the Jets, like I said, the Steelers need to try to find some type of replacement for Aaron Rodgers, right? You can look at the Falcons, even though they have Tua and Penix. Are they really sold on them? Tampa Bay, they're having trouble or not willing to negotiate a contract for Baker Mayfield. That's another team that you may want to look at. So there are teams that might possibly give a third rounder, fourth rounder for him. I don't think anyone will give up a first or second, but maybe a third or a fourth rounder in the supplemental draft. So there's if the league doesn't suspend him or if the league doesn't come out and say he has to serve a suspension, there'll be some teams that bid on him. Absolutely.
Look, I think you look at Sorsby, you mentioned it, the arm strength, the mobility. Those are NFL traits.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's first round or whether it's starting traits or whatnot, it's NFL traits, meaning that to some capacity, despite what we know, he has the talent to be on a roster.
Yeah.
In the NFL. And I think for me, the best situation for him is a proven franchise, a stable franchise with proven player development on and off the field. Right now, we have a different situation here. He can't just go anywhere. Not only because we need a quarterback. So the Browns, nah.
No.
Okay? No. Absolutely not. Not with that franchise history. Not with Deshaun Watson over there and everything with Shador Sanders. No. Keep him away. He needs to go to a stable franchise that's proven that they can take players from previous situations. Maybe they lost a job. Maybe they, the quarterback had off the field antics, allied Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield.
Arizona Cardinals come to mind.
Cardinals come to mind. Even the Buccaneers come to mind, not because we need him to start, but, that's a situation with Jason Light. I trust over there. They have a good track record of just having a good atmosphere, good culture. Obviously, Baker Mayfield was a questionable character at one point in his career. Obviously, now he's straight with the media. But the teams that really stick out to me is three teams: the Steelers, the Vikings, and the Jets. The Steelers, because obviously they need a life beyond Aaron Rodgers. This is his last dance year. Why not back up one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and learn a nugget or two before he makes it do what he do in retirement? Why not, right? Mike McCarthy has proven to be a coach that could develop quarterbacks to a certain extent. He has a simple offense that, is easily functionable. The Vikings, what happens with JJ McCarthy if he loses the job, right? Things will get murky. Maybe you got to move on from him. Well, Sorsby could be a good backup, right? The Jets, although I won't say they have the best track record of player development on and off the field, they are changing the culture with Aaron Glenn. They do have Geno Smith there. So I do think that, that's a different situation compared to what it once were. And maybe he can go out there and back up Geno. He's not a long-term answer by any means. So those will be the three franchises that I think if anybody should take a chance on a guy like Sorsby being everything that we know, those would be the three teams for me.
I like that. I would throw Arizona in there as well because they really, with Jacoby Brissett, he's going to be the starter, but is he really the long-term answer there? So I think that, but I like the teams that you threw out there.
Arizona is good too. But anyway, we'll see what happens and how the NFL lays down the law. If they do, we'll see. But I'll tell you one thing, college sports right now is definitely a mess, and we'll see the things continue to unfold. And maybe this is why Nick Saban said, you know what? It's time for me to go to old country road. and back it up. Take me home, old country road. All right. And guess what? We're going to move on to the next topic here. And let's talk about my New York Knickerbockers again. I can never stop talking about them. We won a championship. Let me have my moment, please. It's been 53 years. Jalen Brunson slams critics at the Knicks championship parade. Now I'm going to play that clip right now for the American people. And then we're going to answer this question. Should the Knicks finals run make us reevaluate what we call 1A, what we call elite? Let's run the clip.
A lot of people have a lot of opinions, but when you prove them wrong, you really don't have to say shit to them. Nah, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Talk your shit, JB Smooth. Okay, because you're that dude. All right, not to be rude. Don't get it misconstrued. You are that dude. You are him. Okay, but Lee, with that being said, I would say this: is it me or? And look, Jalen Brunson don't got to buy another meal in New York. He's very popular here. We call him the King of New York. But I feel like OG Anunoby might be the most popular New York Knickerbocker right now, personally, based on what I see. But Lee, I pass the mic over to you. Looking at Jalen Brunson's comments, should this run make people in media, whatever, pundits, wannabe media pundits, whatever, we evaluate what we call 1A, what we call a superstar? The mic is yours.
Yeah, first of all, very well said by Jalen Brunson. He doesn't owe the dignity to address people by name. They know who they are, right? They know who they are. He doesn't owe the dignity. He can show that a championship trophy and that MVP trophy, something that some of those people that were saying could never earn, Leel. So kudos and hats off to Jalen Brunson. Look, I never bought that. I never bought the fact that he was too small because I watched him play. I mean, all that foolishness about he was too small to win a championship, that's foolishness. When he is, I always said SGA was the best finisher. I still think that. But hell, he's right up there with SGA, if not better. And so you're looking at, and the way the game is played now. The game is played. The little man is back. The game is played that way now. So for Becky Hammond and Draymond Green and all these idiots to say that stuff was foolish. Becky, you stick to the WNBA in Vegas and work out and try to figure out how to play Kennedy Carter. She knows what I'm talking about. And Draymond, how long are you going to live off of those championships, of which you averaged 8 points and 6 rebounds? I mean, you're an expert, and I'm not saying you didn't contribute, but let me say this about Draymond and making those comments. You saw it, so shut your mouth and quit acting like you were such a dominant figure in the championship runs for Golden State. It pisses me off when people say he's a Hall of Famer. Now, because he's really not. To Deion Sanders' point, we're giving away gold jackets now. We're giving it away, or at least it should be tiers. So all of those stupid comments about these people are making, hats off to Jalen Brunson for what he's done, proving them wrong, not by his words, Leel, but by his play, by him being clutch. So I don't know what 1A is. All I know is he's a champion. He's an MVP. You cannot take that away from him. And he showed on the grandest stage that he's a big-time NBA all-time player. Some of these people that are talking, to me, are just average players that lucked up into a good situation.
Definitely. Go tell it on the podcast. That's what Draymond Green does. He goes and tell it on the podcast, and it makes no sense at all. All right, it doesn't. Listen, I am a very good ad-libber. Okay, I tell you, I don't pre-plan the shit that I be saying on the show. It just flows. Now, I mean, when you do what I do for a very long time, it flows. It just naturally
I
comes
love
like
it.
that.
I love it.
But look, I say this, man. We have to reevaluate what we call elite. We have to reevaluate what we call 1A, because a lot of people, they attribute elite traits and elite players with elite traits, and there's a different thing.
Yep.
For example, look at the NFL for a prime example. Who could throw the ball the furthest, right? Quarterbacks that can run the fastest. We deem them to be elite because they have elite attributes, but they haven't won at the highest levels. They still barely could win a playoff game,
Yep.
okay? But yet we call them elite. Elite at what? Losing, okay? Just because they have the physical traits, but that doesn't associate to winning championships. You look at the NBA draft, you look at the NFL draft, the NBA draft, he's too small. Okay, we look at little things like that. Oh, the NFL draft. Well, his hand size is small, so he can't throw the football, right? We do that, and then we get these chatty patties. Everything is scrutinized at the pre-draft process. It's like a humiliation ritual, right? And then you get past the humiliation ritual. They start getting fake reports on you and your character, and it's not only about only physical attributes. A lot of it is premeditated, created, manufactured, reports about you and your character and playing Call of Duty and whatnot, right? All these things pop up and whatnot. Oh, he should be a running back, instead of a quarterback, all those things pop up. But then you get these media pundits, these chatty patties like Becky Hammond, who doesn't know how to make ham. Okay, I'm just talking nonsense right now. Okay, but Becky Hammond, who's supposed to be somebody that knows the game of basketball at a very high level, is calling Jalen Brunson, saying that Jalen Brunson is not a 1A. Have you been watching basketball, really? Okay, Draymond Green, the gold teller on the podcast, even though it makes no sense at all, like my hit that I just made, okay? Again, it doesn't make no sense at all. So for me, you have a guy in Jalen Brunson who's 6'2", right? Obviously, going up against a guy like Wemby who's 7'5". And the league, the NBA, is desperately trying to make the 7'5" Wembanyama the face of the NBA. He's not even American, but they're trying to make him the face of the NBA. He was getting call after call after call after call, calls that Jalen Brunson wasn't getting. That's how you know they're trying to make him the face of the league. But why? I get it. Wembanyama's a talent, a special talent. He's fun to watch. And yeah, there's a legitimate argument to be made. He should be one of the faces of the NBA. But when you have a guy like Jalen Brunson that led the Israelites to the promised land, that came to a franchise that sure made a step or two, right? Because we cannot underestimate what Julius Randle, contributed to this franchise, what Tom Thibodeau contributed to this franchise, right? We do got to give them credit here and salute to them. I want to make that clear on this mic right now. I didn't forget about Julius Randle and his contributions. I didn't forget about Tom Thibodeau and his contributions as well. I want to talk about Tom Thibodeau in the lead of that. But ever since Brunson came, he's took us to a significant step each season. In the 4-year span that Brunson has been in the playoffs, he scored 300 more playoff points than any other NBA player and became the second fastest guard in history to 2,000 postseason points after Steph Curry. Okay? And he's doing this on the biggest market in the NBA. Why is he not the face of the NBA?
Well, and that's that's it. See, the Wemby thing is his international appeal. That's why they want to make Wemby the face of the league, because how the NBA is trying to go very global. There are going to be some home games similar to what the NFL is doing in other countries. There are going to be regular season games played in other countries. So they're grasping at Wemby. And I'm not, like you say, I'm not against Wemby. He is a talented guy. But for what I saw, there's a lot more that he has to add to his game. So quit trying to
And Jalen Brunson was the finisher.
He's a finished product. Brunson is a finished product.
Yes,
and he's a product that you have to pay attention to. That, like you said, we're going to have to start calling him Moses now, because you said it. He led the Israelites to the promised
He
land.
sure did.
He's a finished product. And to your point, I need to see him on more commercials. I need to see him, selling more NBA merchandise, because for a guy his size, his body type, who looks more like the average guy on the street as opposed to a big hulkish NBA player, you have to tip your hat to this guy.
You know how much skill you have to be able to dominate the league in the fashion he's dominating in, with those lack of physical attributes that we attest to being elite. Like, he's a different breed. The elite footwork, the ability to create angles, get to his spot, take over the game in the fourth quarter. When in doubt, he came through in the fourth quarter. He did something that Wembanyama didn't do or was incapable of doing. He had his finishing move, his finishing shot. He knew what to do. He knew how to bring us home. In that game, in that closeout game, he put us on his back, and he took us to the promised land. He did what a star, what a 1A person is supposed to do. Okay? Now, he did something that Kyrie Irving didn't do, which is lead a team by himself as the guy. Okay? He won a championship as a sidekick. Okay? But he wanted his own team. He wasn't successful. Okay? James Harden wasn't successful. Damian Lillard wasn't successful. Luka Doncic, who was his teammate, who he was sidekick to in Dallas, wasn't successful. Got them close, but wasn't successful. So at the end of the day, there's going to be people right now that if you tell them, rapid fire, shoot me a top 10 players in the NBA right now, Jalen Brunson would even come up. And guys that would probably come up are guys that, let me see your fingers, no ring on it.
Yeah.
If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Yeah. Like Beyonce said. Guess what? JB did.
Yeah. No. Well said. Well said. Well, I'll put it this way. If I'm doing a top 10 list, he's going to be on there. He got it. Everything you look for in a superstar, in a person that is considered elite, he has it, and he do it.
But again, we look at the elite traits. We'll pick a guy like Tatum over him. Not me. I'm not stupid. I know ball. But a lot of people will put a guy like Tatum over him because, Tatum. And look, Tatum is a champion. He contributed. He had a lot of help, right? He had a lot of help to win that championship. But for years, he couldn't get over the hump. But, talented player. I'm not going to, trounce Tatum. Very good player, phenomenal player. But he's not better than Jalen Brunson.
Well, the Tatum comparison, there are pros and cons on both sides, but let's look at.
They're going to put a lot of people. They're going to put.
Let's take Anthony Edwards right now. Yeah, he's talented. He's a great talent, but he hadn't led his team any place. Yeah.
And I like
he hadn't led his team any place. So when you're talking about ranking people, and it could be said that Minnesota had more raw, pure talent than the Knicks.
Yeah.
And so, what have you done
for me? This was not a super team here by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Pretty much a lot of the guys on this starting lineup had some type of flaw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Some type of flaw. But we gave Jalen Brunson just enough of an ecosystem where we like, all right, Jalen Brunson, your main priority is to bring us home in the fourth quarter. Bring us home. We'll keep the game close. Bring us home. And he answered the bell every time. Every time. It didn't change in the playoffs than what it was in the regular season. He was doing it in the regular season. In the playoffs, same thing. He showed up. So at the end of the day, we need to stop the nonsense. Lee, somebody said something that I really thought was an interesting take. And I want to know your thoughts on it. They said that Tom Thibodeau is Moses and Mike Brown is Joshua. So for those of y'all who don't read y'all Bibles and don't know the comparison there, Moses is the one that freed the Israelites from Egypt, from bondage under Ramsey, okay? And he got them close to the promised land, which was right there. He already laid the foundation for them to cross over to the promised land. And Joshua, who was the next in command, took them over to the promised land. What's your thoughts about that? Do you find that statement to be accurate or not?
Well, look, first of all, I'm very impressed with your Bible references. I love that. I like how you brought religion on the show. Kudos to you. I love that. Moses is one of my favorite characters in the Bible. So, but no, I don't consider Tom Thibodeau Moses at all, because he didn't lead them to the mountaintop, which would have been the NBA Finals, and then Brown came and got them over the hump. He got them to wandering in the desert, but they didn't get to the promised land. At least Moses got them to the promised land. God just said he wasn't going to take them over, or wasn't going to go over with them. And so, no, I don't consider that he's a Moses character. I'll say this about Tibbs, though. He had a system that he believed in, Leel, that he felt would work. It was proven that it doesn't work. It was proven that way. You beat your players down too much, because this is literally the same Knicks team. Mm-hmm. It's the same Knicks team. And with the tweaking of what Mike Brown did, playing different players, having the guts to use different combinations, it showed how he can evolve as a coach compared to what Tibbs did, who wouldn't do it. He stuck with a 7-man roster, and that was it, 8 at the most. And in the last game or game before that, Mike Brown played 12 people. So yep. I can't equate that to that comparison, because I think Tibbs did a good job, but it was time for him to go. The Knicks would have never made the NBA Finals under Tibbs.
I agree. I personally agree. And this is coming from a guy who respects Tibbs. You know, I still respect his basketball mind. I think he's a hell of a coach. I think he should be coaching. He should be a head coach somewhere. As somebody that believes that, I don't believe we win a championship with him. And I believe that Mike Brown played 50%, like maybe 60% of the reason why we won the championship. With his adjustments, with his adaptability and flexibility, that game 4 in particular, when we was down by how many points we was down by 29, playing Alvarado and Brunson on the floor together, just being very experimental. And this is why you experiment during the regular season, so you know what you got, right? Because what Thibodeau did last year when we fell to heartbreak against the Pacers was he waited till we was down 0-2 in that series to start emptying out the clip a little bit. And it was already too late. We was down 0-2. It was pretty much a last-second Hail Mary, and we ran out of time. We ran out of games to catch up. Mike Brown experimented throughout the regular season with different lineups. So when it came down to crunch time and having to make something shake when we were down, he was able to do so confidently, and it paid homage. It paid dividends. And that's what James Dolan saw when he said, you know what? Thank you, Tom Thibodeau, for getting us this far. But guess what? Mike Brown got the rest. We need to make a change. You're not the guy to take us to the mountaintop. And it took a lot of guts for somebody to recognize that. Because as an owner, a guy that we was telling for years, sell the team, he could have sat back and be like, Tom Thibodeau did something that we haven't accomplished since 1993, 94. I could just, kick back and let him run it back again. But he said, you know what? I actually want to win. And I do believe that Mike Brown is the guy to take us in. And look, it helps when you invest money into the team, right? Obviously, the expenses of putting this team together. So obviously, you want some type of payoff. You don't want to go into the second apron, and not be able to win a championship, with that, right? So obviously, salute to James Dolan there. Salute to Tom Thibodeau for his contributions to the team. But Mike Brown, he did an amazing job, and he got us to where we wanted to go, and so did JB. And that's why, in conclusion, he is that 1A.
Absolutely. I agree.
And we are going to move on to the final topic on today's show. And man, Lee, off topic, man, I keep getting notifications about Floyd Mayweather. It's just looking bad for Floyd Money Mayweather.
Yeah.
It's looking crazy. Maybe next week, we'll probably talk about that further. Because right now, there's a conversation that needs to be had. What's up with Floyd Money Mayweather? Can we even call him money anymore? At this point, I don't know.
From a billionaire to writing bad checks, that's hard, man. That's hard.
Listen, this is what happens when you go out there, and this is a lesson for Sorsby as well. Whether it's throwing money at the strip club, whether it's gambling, uncontrollably, all that money can go to the wayside. All that money that you work hard, blood, sweat, and tears to be able to accumulate could all go by the wayside. It's addiction, brother. It all falls in line. But anyway, one thing I am an addict for is a good story. And one thing that to me is a good story is what happened. Now, I wish I could play the clip. I can't find the clip for whatever reason. Maybe they like, you know what, Lil, we trying to protect you from getting demonetized, so don't even bother.
Yeah, please don't, because they watch it. They watch it.
So I do want to play the clip to give people context, but we're just gonna have to go from the word of mouth. So UFC star Josh Hokit yells, "Michelle Obama is a man" at Donald Trump's White House event, which was a UFC freedom event. Are these comments foul or fair game? Lee, the mic is yours.
Oh, certainly foul. I mean, piece of trash. It's a piece of trash. That's what I say. He is a piece of trash. And the fact that it wasn't immediately condemned by the president or Dana White, that's trashy too, right? They should have immediately condemned that and said that's not what we stand for, and because that wasn't political in any way. They should have. Well, it was political, but they should have snipped that in the bud to say that they wasn't bipartisan that way. And so it was classless, right? It was classless. I was hoping that the Obamas would sue as a point of contact, not for their money because they don't need it, but just to put the UFC, this clown, because I want him out of the UFC. I don't want him to fight anymore. And if he did, I want that money to be going to some charitable event for the Obamas. That's what should happen, because that's defamation. That's hurting her brand, and she needs to be rewarded for it. So I wish that she would do it. Probably too classy to do that, Leo. But oh Lord, I wish they would do it just to send a message and put people in their proper perspective. This guy's a clown. He's not a great UFC fighter, and he took advantage of a moment to do something classless as that. And for Dana White to talk about free speech and all that foolishness and them being public figures, I lost what little respect I had for Dana White and the UFC. I'll never buy another pay-per-view event of UFC. I won't do that again. And of course, the president is the president. We know what that's about. So yeah, it was classless. It was foul. Can't stand it. And really, I wish that they would take some type of action on GP just to make sure that this clown knows you can't do that.
I mean, look, to me, this is where we walk that thin line here. Look, number one, the UFC as a sport is all right. So you look at all the major sports, right? The NFL is more towards liberal ideologies. They have the LGBTQ colors painted on the football field. The NBA, obviously, with their actions, right? That's proven that to be the truth. You know, what happened to Jaden Ivey or whatever. As soon as he talked about, particular people banned from the league. So you kind of know where they stand. UFC, however, is still more on the conservative side. So there's obviously things that can get away with conservatively on that side. Now, as a guy who has conservative thinking, and what I mean by conservative thinking is not tied to a particular party. I am not Republican. I am not Democrat. I am Jaleel, the real Lil, and I go with where my values align. That's why I tend to decide. But I don't do this party bullcrap. I don't do this Democrat bullcrap. I don't do this Republican bullcrap. The last time I tried to do it, last couple times I tried to do it, it didn't work out. So me, I'm just neutral, but I am conservative by way of values, right? God, family. I am right wing, so I do believe in conspiracy theories. And one of the major conspiracy theories that's out there is that Michelle Obama, is not what we think she is. Okay, that's a real conspiracy theory. Now, do I believe it? I don't have any evidence to back that up. Right now, this take is not going to come from what I believe, because what I believe is what I could believe. Again, I don't really know. I haven't really made a concrete, a thing on that. Right? I've heard it. She does look like a linebacker a little bit, but at the same time, maybe that's just how she's built, right? So I can't really say that she is. I don't have any evidence. I do know there's conspiracy theories around that. I really haven't dived into that specifically a lot to really like, because I'll give you my opinion. If I think Michelle Obama's a man, I literally listen. I don't fail on my show. Okay, I'm not scared to talk about stuff on my show. So if I know for a fact that she's a man, I will come out and be like this dude and say she's a man, clearly. But I don't know, right? I know. And so we have to take it on for what she says she is, right? Which is a woman, and she was a first lady, and we will take it as that. But again, I would say this: when you talk about the UFC and you talk about his comments, to me that was very, very bold. To me, no matter what side you're on,
you said it was what?
Very, very bold. It was
bold.
Yeah, it was bold. It was like, okay,
that
really
was trashy, Leel. That was trashy.
I mean, we could call it trashy. You know, I get it. I understand it. To me, it's like, okay, for example, it's you being bright. So, for example, Lee, let's bring this down a notch.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about speech, how do we walk that thin line of freedom of speech? Because obviously you can't say everything. Obviously, certain things you say you're going to be penalized for. Again, what's the difference between what he says or what he said and what somebody could say at a comedy club? What makes it valid or not? Is it still bad? So let's say he was a comedian, and I'm just asking a question, right?
Okay,
just a plain old question. Yeah. Let's say he was a comedian at a comedy club, and he came out and said that exact thing. Mm-hmm. Michelle Obama is a man. What's the difference between that, if there's any, right? Or are we still condemning that as a joke, as opposed to him probably joking around and saying that too? He could have been joking. I don't know what he believes fully, right? He came out and grabbed the mic and said that. We don't know if he actually believed that. Maybe it's a joke because, again, Lee, this is not a frat. This is not something that he created on his own. There's really people that believe that. There's a term that goes around called a big mic.
I have to stop you there. There's not people that believe that, Lee.
No, there is. I can tell you for a fact.
There's people that want to perpetuate that for a particular reason. Those people don't believe that, and that's why I want Michelle Obama to sue them so they could legally be tied to that and have some proof of that. You go back and say in a comedy club, that's why people in the comedy club, comedians can be sued the same way. And so if a comic said that, she should sue them too, because see, I'm all for free speech. And certainly if you have some credible proof, you can say whatever you want, because that proof has to be proven within a shadow of a doubt in a court of law. So you can say anything you want. You have that protection. But when it borderlines defamation, right, which this does, then a person needs to be held to the fire for that.
And you know what? And that's fair game. Again, I'm just telling you for a fact that there's rumors about that. Like there's rabbit holes about that, even going down to, and now we really getting down to the black hole. They had a private chef, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. He ended up missing, and there was reports that he was coming out and saying something. Again, that's if you believe the rabbit hole, right? I'm just giving you context.
Right. People say foolish things. Again.
But if we talking about putting somebody's name out there and saying something like that, well, you can make the argument, and this is just to be fair, because I'm trying to be fair here. This right here, I'm not giving no opinion into this. Again, I think he's very bright for that to come out, whether or not he believed that. Whether or not he believed that theory, I don't believe you get up there and you say that like that. Personally, I would never do something like that. Right now, obviously, if I'm joking around, I'll be like, I'm joking around. But if we being fair here, those same people on the other side that called the current president Hitler, right? To me, that's the same thing. It's defamation of character.
No.
To me, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You calling somebody Hitler, you know what Hitler did? You know what Hitler is? Who Hitler is?
He could be, it's context. He could be acting like Hitler in some ways.
Yeah, she could be acting like a man in some ways.
Acting like a man and being called a man is two different things. And so that was, to me anyway, that wasn't bold. That was an idiot trying to impress the president at an event, and he needs to be slapped down for it. So if he really believes it, she needs to sue him so he can come out and prove it and take him for every cent that he has. I love it.
Listen, the nickname that's floating out there for Michelle Obama, right, is Big Mike. That's the nickname. That's But look, I'm a fan of Michelle Obama. Let me be clear. I'm a fan of her.
I think small-minded people do that. See, it's first of all, I think Michelle Obama's a beautiful lady.
No, she is
beautiful black lady. I love her. I love what she stands
if you know, and I'm not trying to get pulled down the rabbit hole, but if what it is she's not ugly. I'll leave it like that. She's not ugly.
She's not.
Not by any of the means.
That's my whole thing. It was to me, it's totally classless. It is a person, an idiot, trying to cow down to the president, and it seriously should backfire on him. I just hope, and I hope and pray that they sue him. I just hope that, and the UFC for that matter, because he's a representation of the UFC, and so she should sue the UFC too, and that would be a beautiful thing. That would be a beautiful thing, and because Leel, this is what it'll come to down in the court of law. The Dana White would say that, well, he has freedom of speech, and we can't control that. No, he has freedom of speech to tell things that are true. And Dana White, as your employee, you have an obligation to control your employees because he works for you. So, in essence, Dana White is liable as well.
I mean, look, I would say
not
this.
Even Donald Trump, for that matter, because he threw the event.
I would say this. Dana White is obviously he runs the UFC. Again, you look at the NFL, you look at the NBA, they control whatever narrative they want to control. Again, you got people that come out, they talk about certain people, they get punished for it. That's because the NFL and the NBA, they control their narratives and what they want to get out there. Guess what? UFC has a right to do the same thing. Again, you know, I'm just saying, to be fair, because at the end of the day, they are on the conservative side, whereas the NFL and the NBA, their actions make me believe that they're not. So if they can control their narrative, I think the UFC can as well. And they can determine if they want to suspend, the UFC fighter Josh Hokit or not. Again, I think that what he did shouldn't have been done. Let me be clear here. I don't think you go out there, whether or not you believe it or not, and you take a mic and you say that at that event. To me, that's bad PR. That's a bad move. You don't do that. But he did. But for me, I just think that, again, if you out here controlling the narrative in other areas and the corporations and the people that run those companies get to control the narrative, well, guess what? If you want Dana White to do something, we'll see if he does. We'll see if he suspends him.
This is not about Dana White, though. Dana White, whether he suspends him or not, the NFL and the NBA control the narrative because anything that brings down the brand, it's in the contract of those players. If you affect the brand in a negative way, that's kind of detrimental to the league and the brand.
And when you mean by affecting the brand, you mean by as far as ratings or as far as perception?
Ratings, revenue.
Because most of the people that watch UFC are conservative, so it's not like a even kill split like the NFL and and whatnot. The NFL to me is like kind of 50-50, even though the NFL be pushing one way. It's 50-50 as far as fan base when it comes to what side you're on. The UFC to me is more conservative dominated as opposed to other sports.
I agree with that, but see, it's not about what the UFC does. This has nothing to do. It has. Whether they suspend him or not is irrelevant in this argument because the UFC and Dana White has an obligation not to defame someone. See, that's the whole argument here. She would win that case very easily, very, very easily. Her medical records and put them down as evidence. That's it. Suing for $300
I mean,
million.
I would say this in general. When it comes to politicians, I don't trust nothing. I don't trust anything. I don't trust, like, down to the core of who's here. Like, for example, you have people wearing skin masks of people. Like, you really think Joe Biden was actually, running, was president, bro? Who was that character that put on the mask? Like, I firmly believe that. So I just can't push nothing past anything, because I just believe in this world. A lot of things is unexplainable and it can't go over your head. I mean, they lie all the time. Politicians, nothing will surprise me. But again, when it comes to Josh, it was a bold statement. Could have handled that better than that. Should have had came out, whether or not you believe it or not. Again, there are conspiracies that people believe. We have to respect that. But at the same time, there's a time and place for everything. There's an occasion for everything. I would say that as well. So we'll see. I just think the UFC got a lot going on right now. There's a very good fighter, Sean Strickland, who was a Trump supporter, who's no longer. He came out talking about the Epstein files and whatnot, and now he got beef with the UFC and he's banned at certain events. I mean, there's a lot of things going on right now. The world's in political chaos right now, and there's even, and that's the thing, we can't ban people's freedom of speech, right? No. Even Sean Strickland as well, to come out and oppose Trump. He has a right to oppose Trump. He has a right to talk about the Epstein files because that's something that should be talked about. He has a right to come out and talk about what's going on in Israel with the war and whatnot. He has every right to do so because he's speaking for what a lot of people actually believe, right? Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah, same thing all across the board. No, but listen, you're absolutely true. You're that's a very true statement. But where you don't have the right to do is say something that's false. See, you have the right to say and do anything you want. But when it goes to being false, that's what defamation is. Remember, Trump got $10 million from CBS because he felt that he was defamed in some of the reporting that they did. You can say whatever you want, anything you want. But if a person says that's not true and that is hurting my brand, the law says that you can get compensated for that. And this is what it is. And so now that was, that to me, that's classless. I'm all for free speech. But let me say this. A lot of things are conspiracies. Why? Because people can't prove it, Leel. Most conspiracies, it's a conspiracy because the person or people that are putting it out there, they don't have the proof.
I think there's some conspiracy theories that take it a notch too far, but the majority of conspiracies, to be honest with you, are coming true. You would have told people about what was going on with Epstein and little children and sex trafficking and torturing and eating children before, they would label you as a conspiracy theorist, and that's a fact. Well, but now those came out, those reports, those emails, you've seen it, you read it, it's going on. That was a conspiracy theory before.
No, people knew that was happening, and they covered that up.
Yeah, and that's because that's what's called a conspiracy. A conspiracy is a cover-up. That's really what it is. It's a cover-up. That's a conspiracy, right? 9/11, conspiracy. Vaccinations. COVID-19, conspiracy. Look at everything going on with Anthony Fauci. I mean, it's there. The knowledge is there. So that's what conspiracy is. So again, respect to the conspiracy mind there, but at the same time, I would agree that, to be honest with you, there's a time and place for everything. That's something that you shouldn't have said at that event, at that time, at that event. And we'll see if Dana White does have any action towards it, because that's going to put a light, to me, that's going to put a headlight on Dana White, because we do know he has a close relationship with Trump. We do know that the UFC is conservative. How he acts will kind of, that's a very good thing, a very good point, because what he does with this is going to determine how people view him in a lot of ways. His own base, conservative base, Okay, well, you suspended him. Maybe you're not conservative. Oh, you didn't suspend him. Maybe you're racist, right? Some people from the left will say. So, like, what he does with this, can impact the perception of him. So I think he's in a hard rock in a hard place here.
Dana White's going to protect his name and his brand. So
that's enough. Yeah,
he came out and made a statement that was very vague because he didn't want to alienate his base. I don't agree with it, but the Obamas are a public figure. Has nothing to do with that. Is the statement true or false? If the statement is true, he has nothing to worry about. If it's false, both Hokit and Dana White ass can be in a sling because he has defamed her and the UFC has defamed her, and that's the key. And so it's not even about Dana White. It's about what the Obamas want to do. They could take it as far as they want to go with it, and they can make an example out of people like Dana White if they wanted to. I don't think they'll do it, but I sure hope, because it would be great to see if the Obamas made an example out of these people and just give the money away to charity. They don't really need it, but make an example out of these people to show that you can't be doing these type of things. That's what I'm hoping for.
Lee, I didn't want to do this to you, but I got to hit you with the facts. I'm not going to play the clip here on the show just for for other reasons, but I'm going to send that clip to you. Michelle Obama.
I saw it.
She did an interview before, and she had a slip of the tongue where she called herself a man. I'm just going to throw that out there, right?
Leel,
again, I'm not condoning.
You don't have to send me that clip. That's foolishness. So I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, they was fueled. She kind of fueled that part of that. I wouldn't ever slip up and call myself anything other than what I am, just to be clear. But you know what? I would say there's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for comments. And Josh, I gotta disagree with you, man. Yeah, I gotta disagree with how you handled this. Keep it UFC, keep it moving. Go to the table, talk with your family, and talk about how you think she's a man and she's Big Mike. But don't do that here in the UFC, in the octagon, in front of those people. I think you're wrong for that. I got to be honest. I got to be fair. And that's how I'm going to leave it. And Lee, I want to wrap up this show. Thank you for coming on.
I love it. I love it. Good topic.
Excellent topics.
We don't agree to disagree on the last one, but good topics. Very good topics.
An hour and 13 minutes of fire. Salute to everybody, right? Salute to everybody. I still, despite my political differences with the Obamas, I still have respect for them. I do, to some extent. I still believe that, listen, Obama is he's a culture guy. He's a culture guy, and that's why I respect him, even if I disagree with a lot of his politics, which I do heavily. Michelle Obama, same thing. I respect her as a woman, and I'll leave it at that. That's simple as that.
As an accomplished woman.
Listen, I respect her as a woman. We'll leave it like that. Okay.
We
we don't kiss ass here on this show. That's one thing we don't do as the Real Leel. Anybody else can do, so I ain't doing that. I respect her as a woman, as the former first lady of America, and that's just what it is. We'll leave it at that. Nothing more, nothing less. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another successful episode of the Real Leel Show with my guy Lee. Lee, how can my listeners listen to your podcast?
Every Sunday after the Buzzer Show with Lee Jones. I love this. This is what we do. Look, you can always debate topics. I think it's healthy. I think it's very healthy when you debate topics. And so that's why I enjoy coming on your platform, Leel, because we get to really chop it up in a real honest way. So I love the topics for today, but you can catch me every Sunday. I love you being on the show with me as well. Every Sunday, 6:30 p.m. after the Buzzer Show with Lee Jones. Hit me up every Sunday, y'all.
Definitely. Look, they're not like the Hillarys or the Clintons. The Clintons, oh man, them people. Listen, let me stop. It's 11:15. I'm getting into my zone. Let me hop off this show before I say a lot of stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. So to my guy Lee. On to the next show. We out.
All right.
Peace.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only, The Real Leel on The Real Leel Show.